Welcome to TeacherNinja.com Studios with Mrs. Smith. TeacherNinja.com Studios presents Formatting Your Paper in the MLA style using Microsoft Word. This video covers the basics, font, line spacing, and paragraph spacing. Before using this video, you're going to need to download a couple of documents. They're on our class blog. Please go ahead and find the entry and make sure you have Paper Formatting Guide and Paper Formatting Lorem Ipsum. These are Word documents attached to the blog entry. Pause this recording until you have those ready to go. All right, now that you have your paper formatting guide and your paper formatting lorem ipsum documents out, it's time to get going. Make sure that you have those two. The first thing you're going to want to do is to save these documents to your document folder to reduce the load on the server. It's also a really great idea to get used to saving your documents right after you download them or create them anyway. So I'm going to go to my documents folder. Another good idea is to put an underscore and your initials at the end of the document name when you are saving it. I do this when I am sharing files with someone, or if something I'm going to turn in. This helps distinguish mine from other people's, especially when we tend to call them the same thing. So in this case, I put underscore LS because my initials are LS for Leah Smith. So I'm going to save that. And I'm going to go back and do it here on the lorem ipsum. Take the load off the server. Make sure you can't lose this here. Again, I'll put it in my documents folder. Great, so start with the guide. First thing is the basics. It says to type your paper on a computer. Well, since you're watching this video and I've given you some typed text already, you're in good shape. And print it out on standard white 8.5 by 11 inch paper. That's not usually a problem. Please be sure to use white paper. That is the standard for turning in an academic paper. So the second point that you need to take care of in formatting is the font. You need to use a legible academic type font. You're not going to want to use something crazy like some of the fonts I have here. I've got my Ninja font. I've got Star Wars font. There's all sorts of really crazy fonts you can download. Those are not considered academic fonts, and putting your paper in one of those fonts, people aren't going to take it seriously. Also, it's going to be really difficult to read, and you do not want your teacher struggling to read something when you have turned in a paper. So here are some acceptable fonts. Let's go to our lorem ipsum over here. All right, lorem ipsum is what's known as dummy text or fake text or placeholder text. It's not text written by a dummy, but it's text that can stand in for any other text. The printing and typesetting industries and now desktop publishing and web publishing industries have used it since the 1500s, actually, this particular text. Some people call it fake Latin. Greek and Latin roots, anyone? It's not entirely fake, actually. They found some of the text in here actually appears in some writings on ethics by the Roman philosopher Cicero from 45 BC. Some of it's not. But anyway, this lorem ipsum is just what it's called. It's great for formatting. It's got up letters, down letters, and then you don't get distracted by trying to read what the actual article says. So that's why we use lorem ipsum when we're showing different formatting options. So back to font. Fonts, what we need to do right now, we're at an Arial font, an 8.5. Let's go check our sheet to make sure we're doing what we're supposed to. Let's see. Oh, Arial is accepted, but it needs to be 12 points if it's Arial. So you're a teacher who's getting old can read it. Calibri or Times New Roman are options, all in the 12 point. An easy way to select all of your text is to do Control A. You could also scroll and select it all, but it takes more time, and I always find I don't catch a line at the bottom if I try and use my mouse, but Control A is really handy, selects all your text. So I'm going to go up here to Arial, pull down here to 12. See how it makes my text 12 point. I can see what it looks like in Calibri if I want to, which is fine. I don't really like the spacing of Calibri that much, but I'm kind of a text nerd. Here's Times New Roman. This is a serif text, which means it has these little lines at the tops, the ends of the letters. Not really necessary whether to do a serif or a sans serif font, whatever appeals to you. I think I'm in an Arial mood right here. I like the verticals on the Arial. So we're going to go with that. Nice 12 point, which is just what this says over here. So we chose Arial 12 point. So let's go back to our lorem ipsum and then save it since we've made a change. Control S is the keyboard shortcut for saving. I use that constantly. It's almost like a little nervous twitch for me. That Control S works out very nicely. All right, I'm going to go back to my paper formatting guide. The next thing is line spacing. I need to double space the text of my paper. Also paragraph spacing. Don't put an extra space between paragraphs, and there's also some word settings we're going to need to play with here, and that's all done in the same menu. So let's go back over here to our lorem ipsum. I'm going to do Control A again to select all of the text and move my mouse up here to this icon. When you hover over it, it says line and paragraph spacing. This is Word 2010, so if you're using a different version, you'll have to find it in a different place. But this is what the school has, so you should be in good shape. Click on this. It brings down a pull-down menu. You want to select 2.0. That is double spaced. So we clicked it. It did 2-point font. We're just going to click it again to make that window show, and there it is with our 2.0. Now down here is this tricky thing, adding space before a paragraph, removing space after a paragraph. It's a new thing in Word to have this so easily accessible and for it to automatically set it to add a space before the paragraph, which is actually really annoying. You do not want that. So it says remove, so you have to click it to remove. So then if you see that it says add and add, that means they've both been removed. Hopefully that makes sense to you. So that's what you want it to look like. You want it to say add space, that means they've both been removed. 2.0, great, you can click off of it. And we're going to do Control S to save that document to make sure that we are keeping it saved and current. Going to toggle back to the paper formatting guide. So we've done the line spacing and the paragraph spacing. Now paragraph spacing indent. You should indent the first line of each paragraph 1/2 inch from your left margin. And MLA recommends that you use the tab instead of pushing the space bar 5 times. That's because different fonts have different sizes, and sometimes even at a 12-point font, it's kind of complicated that computers don't use the actual printing guidelines, but I won't go down that rabbit hole right now. But if you push the tab key, that did not work. There we go. Somehow I did something wrong, sorry. But if you go to the beginning of each line and push the tab key, it will indent your paragraph. So go back and click here, and the tab key, it also indents your paragraph. And here you can see it's a 0.5 space because here's 1 inch and that's 0.5. It's actually changing the format instead of using the tab like it used to, but this will work. So click here, there you go, click on this next one, one more, great. And one important thing to note is that it's double spaced throughout and there are no extra spaces between your paragraphs. And that's what we did when we set this here, making sure that there were no extra spaces between the paragraphs. But just double check on that and don't do like this and hit an extra space. That just makes too much space on the paper. It doesn't flow as well. All right, so I'm going to go back up to the top of the paper. I'm going to save it again. Toggle back to the paper formatting guide. So we've got the paragraph spacing indent. Now the margins. We need to set the margins of our document to 1 inch on all sides. Excuse me. So back here to paper formatting, lorem ipsum. Here we go. And go to page layout up at the top, and here's this big nice button called margins. Click that, pulls down another pull down menu, and normal is the template that has 1 inch on all sides. Your normal could have gotten changed. That does happen sometimes. So you'll click on the normal. In case your normal has gotten changed and is no longer 1 inch in all of these boxes, you can go down to custom. And then you just want to put 1 in each of these boxes right here, the top, left, bottom, and right, and hit OK. All right, so let's go back to our formatting guide. We have done paragraph spacing, margins, title. Now, if your paper has a title, you're going to center it on the first line of your document, but without any extra spaces. Now, this is your NHD paper, and you will have a title, but you're going to put that title on a separate title page, so we're going to skip this step. Header is a little bit more complicated, so I'm going to be doing that in the next video. So for right now, go ahead and go back to lorem ipsum. Make sure everything looks like my example here, like it should. And you are set. When you're ready, go ahead and load up the next video, and I'll talk to you about headers.